I bet that's not got a manual choke. Welcome back to episode 43 of Tall Boy Radio. Now, this week we're going to do something a little bit different. Gaz is going to be leading the main episode, but before we do, there's a little bit of a treat for myself and Andy, because we've got David back on from Double Trouble Drinks. Hello, Dave.
Hello.
And thank you very much for sending us your latest product to try. And I am genuinely very, very excited about this. Both Andy and I are keen whiskey drinkers, aren't we, Andy?
Yeah, and there's no other drink in sight. There's no Vimto, no Coke. It's just gonna be pure whiskey.
I'm glad to hear that, Andy.
So, I mean, honestly, we are absolutely honoured, because to get to taste a whiskey before it goes to market that's literally our dream, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah, definitely. Just any whiskies for free is good.
Yeah. Go on, tell us a little bit about it then, because I know, you've sent us through a little bits of information. Obviously, it's blended by award-winning blenders, and it's a blended Scotch, grain and malt whiskey. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the whiskies in there before we taste?
Yes, so it's got, I think it's got a 5-year-old malt in there, and about 40% is malt and 60% is grain whiskey. It's got elements of Speyside. There's a hint of Isla whiskey. There's a few different ones, and I'm a bit of a whiskey fan as well. So this is pretty special for me, being able to bring what will be a super unique blend to the darts community. And hopefully we'll like it. I'm actually tasting it live with you, other than the very small taste I had when I went and picked it up from the blenders. So I'm quite looking forward to it myself.
Oh, fantastic. And I must say, the green bottles, obviously, which the miniatures are coming, I think they look fantastic.
Yeah. I just think it's great that obviously the colours of each of the bottles replicate the colours that you would associate with dart and the dart balls and stuff. So that's brilliant, that is.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've already said to the wife, I'm going to stick something in the top of this. Is going on the tree as a decoration. This is at Christmas.
Someone else suggested that. You know how we just launched the limited edition gold and silver ones for the Disability Darts World? You've seen them. Someone just said to me today, those in miniature would be great baubles.
Yeah, they would. They would. Just need to find a way to get a light inside of them.
Yeah, one for next year maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, had it not been for COVID, ideally we would have all got to take the trip to this blender, because where it's set in the Dumfriesshire area, set in beautiful gardens, country house type gardens, huge old-fashioned type farm building is where it's based, and I got the privilege of going round where they store the whiskey, store the barrels, and where they do the bottling and things like that, which was a bit more modern, but it was quite traditional storage and it, just as you would expect in a sort of romanticised view of whiskey.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, it's something that I wish we could have done, but obviously COVID's put pay to so many of our ideas that we've had for the podcast, and this is probably the worst one it's put pay to, because I really would have enjoyed that. So we're going to do this properly then, the proper sort of Scotch way, by examining the colour and the viscosity first then.
Yeah, go for it. Tell me what you see.
Go on then. So I'm trying to remember back from when I did the tour of the top of the Royal Mile there. So I'll talk it through. I think we've lost David temporarily. But if you've listened to episode 14, Beans Does Whiskey, I covered off how you would go about tasting it. So first we're looking for the colour, which has got a nice sort of, it's a little bit darker than straw, would you say, Andy?
I'm doing it straight out of the bottle, so I didn't even think about a glass.
Oh, class all the way.
Get it down. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, if you want to taste it straight away, then. But I'm looking at the colour of this, and it's a little bit darker than straw, and obviously the colour of the whiskey sort of demonstrates the colour that it's taken from the barrel. Yeah, so we've got the colour there, and then we're going to examine the viscosity by just spinning it round a bit. And when it drops, obviously it won't work so well in the bottle, that Andy. You can sort of see the lines, and they're quite thick, those lines are, which means it should be a fairly viscous whiskey in the old mouth, so we should be able to detect that. And then if you give it a quick shake and just agitate it and get some bubbles in there, see those bubbles? I see there's still one there. They take a while to go, which does indicate, as the bottle tells you, that it's a good strong whiskey, 46%. And then we have a quick sniff of the whiskey. And that does actually, this isn't my first sniff of it. I'm really honest. When I dropped it off with Andy, we couldn't resist because we cracked the bottle open and had a little sniff of it then. And it does, yeah, that smells
for the neighbours.
Yeah. Yeah, that wouldn't look ideal, actually, would it? Really, like teenagers sniffing those little bottles or whatever that they do these days. I don't know. Your front garden, next to your van. Yeah, we were quite excited. So the best bit now, the taste. Oh, that's good. So yeah, I think one of the things you mentioned in the flavour is there is a peppery taste to it, and there really is. You can feel it all over your tongue. That's fabulous. What do you think, Andy?
I've just poured it into a glass.
Good man.
There we go.
Enjoy.
Oh,
Get it down here.
Yeah. Have you got it over ice there as well, David?
Yeah.
A bit of ice. So I've gone full on neat to get the flavour. But no, I tell you what, this is a particularly good whiskey. I'll be placing an order for a couple of these, I promise, when this one becomes available.
along with the other products that are available.
Actually, I was just saying to the wife as well that, when the silver and the gold bottles that you've just released of the vodka and the gin, I wouldn't mind to buy a few of those. And she said maybe after Christmas once you drunk the other ones, but we shall see. I think they'll be gone way before Christmas.
just get the old shelves stocked and the. So how would that be? So how, I assume that you would store that. Would you need? Was it just be sat in a bottle if you ordered like a normal bottle? Would it just be sat in a bottle effectively at room temperature? Does it need to be a particular temperature for all of the flavours to come out?
No, I don't think so, guys. I think most of the flavours that go into whiskey come from the time it spends in the barrels. Yeah. And so these ones have all, I think that it is a young whiskey. I think they've all spent at least 5 years in barrels. I think part of the colour, the lightish colour, is because it's fairly young. If we left it till you get to the 10s, the 12 years, it darkens a bit, and depending on the type of barrel. But yeah, so I don't think it needs any special storage, unless you've got a problem and you need to hide it.
The first bottle of beer came in like bottle 2 and 3 and 4. Just keep putting them all around the different places.
And you can definitely pick up on those peaty tastes as well. Like I say, is it Islay or Islay? I can never pronounce that one.
It said there was a hint of Islay smoke and peatiness to it, but only slightly with the way that they described it. I don't know if you can remember back to when you did the tour in Edinburgh, and you've got the whiskey tasting profile that's sort of split into the 4 quadrants, and it puts some various different places, and you've got the Lagavulins and the really smoky ones up the top right. And the Ardbegs up the top left and things like that. I think this is probably more in the middle. It's not quite as smooth as the likes of Dalwhinnie, but what we asked for was to try and make it as close to the way our other spirits are, so as smooth as possible and really as accessible. No for the extremists or the whiskey connoisseurs, if you like, try and make it accessible for everyone.
That is a really good whiskey. Like you say, it's a young whiskey, but I don't think you'd know it's got plenty of body and it packs a punch in the taste.
They've done a good job with the blending. I expected it to be, with it being young, I expected it to be a bit more fiery on the mouth, but it's quite a smooth whiskey.
It is, and I say I've gone without the ice. I'll hold up the Glencairn glass there so you can see it a little bit clearer. And like I say, it's a really good colour. And you can see the lines in it. Hopefully it'll pick it up on the camera how sort of viscous it is. Yeah, it's fabulous. Honestly, really good.
So genuinely, Dave, is this the first time you've tasted it then genuinely like tonight?
So when I went to collect it, it was a frosty autumn morning, if I try and bring it to life for the listeners. Sun was shining and I'm pinching myself going into this beautiful whiskey bottling plant, if you like, or bottling facility. And it's a big old farmhouse, and I walk, and the guy says, "Oh, I'll just get you a glass, same style of glass that you're drinking out of, Adam." And it was 8:30 in the morning, so I'm thinking, is this really the right time to be tasting a lot of whiskey? So I did just have a small sip then, and he said it was the best time to taste whiskey first thing in the morning. So it does seem like that's quite a good profession. But this is the first time I'm tasting it properly.
Wow. And what are your thoughts then, Dave? Was it what as you expected? Are you sort of are you pleased with it? You know,
yeah, I'm really pleased with it. Really pleased with the way it's come out. The only things that are slightly worrying for us at the minute is it's quite expensive,
right,
particularly for miniatures. It won't be as bad for the bigger bottles, I don't think, but the miniatures are like 3 times the cost of what it costs us to make a gin miniature. So that's worrying me a wee bit. We might not be able to do miniatures in this because of that. But but I'm happy the way the products come out. What I think we'll do with it, because we got 50 miniatures made, we'll do something that gets feedback. My challenge now is, and I'm all ears for your ideas, because always you've got some views on how we might do it. But how do we get fellow passionate whiskey drinkers in the dark community to give us feedback on what they think of it, and is it good enough? Do we need to tweak the recipe or tweak the blend, basically?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me is, obviously you guys were keen to get out and about and delivering your product with you, weren't you? If you are going out and about and delivering the vodka and the gin on that, you know, in the areas where you can go to, I don't know how that works now. If you've got, and you let these people know in advance, you've got a bottle of whiskey with you, and if they can provide the glass, so you would taking away any risk of passing. Also, I'm pretty sure 46% alcohol is going to kill any infections that are going to be there anyway. But you've got an audience there. I'm going to say, if you rock up to somebody's house when you're delivering a vodka or a gin and offer them a little nip of whiskey, even if it is 8:30 in the morning, it's not something I'd say no to, and I'd give you genuine feedback on it.
If you could get like an ice cream truck as well, just playing the tunes while going down the road. So.
Just get people to line up, just a little glass, just like a little wee little nip of double trouble whiskey. Just there you go, Dave's there with his little piddy on, just like pouring it out of the bottle. There you go, guys, taste that.
That sounds like a plan.
Brilliant.
And also, when you're at the as long as it goes ahead, and I'm touching wood when I say this because I hope it does, the Disability Darts World Cup, you know, you can have a target audience there for people wanting to try things, and word of mouth can be very powerful. And I think we've seen it in the darts community. You see the same names. I think when Dartwolf launched his YouTube channel, to see all the names that are there commenting at the start, I saw yourself there, all the same names that you see, all these creators and all the people with lots of followers. And if you can get those people involved and bought into the idea and sharing out the story, and I think a lot of them are bought in already, I think that's a great way to go as well.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But
it's likely to be next year when we do a proper launch on it. You guys are getting VIP treatment, basically.
Well, we do appreciate it. We do appreciate it because this, like I say, this is a really, really good whiskey, and I do love a good whiskey, and this is a good one. What are your thoughts, Andy? How are you finding it? Is it warming your cockles?
Oh yeah, it's definitely like early morning medicine. I think the peat and the aftertaste is just right for me. I'm not into a lot of the ones that like the really strong after you after when you breathe and stuff like that, I can't really drink them ones. I don't enjoy them as much, but with it being smoother, it hits the spot a lot better.
It really does. It really does. Lovely and smooth. Absolutely fantastic taste.
And I don't even want to add anything to it. I think it's perfect, just like that.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think you'd want to add anything to that. That's too good. Maybe just a drop of water or an ice cube, but by itself, fantastic.
How long are you thinking in terms of the sort of the feedback stage? I mean, are you looking at maybe over the next? I know you mentioned in 2021, but are you thinking about maybe trying to get some feedback over the next month, couple of months? Sort of what sort of timeline are you looking at?
I think so. So there are a few people that have mentioned whiskey to us. You guys, James Shepherd was another one. Haley, one of the girls that plays darts, mentioned that she's a whiskey drinker. So certain people that have indicated they're whiskey fans and are looking forward to us bringing out a whiskey, even though we've never mentioned it. I think we're getting feedback from people that have proactively told us. So we'll keep looking out for those people that ask, and we'll do something to create some intrigue probably. But it will be probably early 2021 when we do a proper launch on it. We'll maybe do something with. We're going to do a fundraiser, I think, to do with Martin Leake's charity. You know how he's raising money for underprivileged kids.
Yes.
So you guys might be interested in it actually. So we're going to do something with the weekly darts cast, and we're still toying whether we do it as Team Double Trouble versus Team Weekly Darts cast. And basically, it's a bit of a darts and running themed fundraiser where you hit start on your timer or your Strava app, and you start throwing doubles. Once you've hit 20, you're allowed to start running, and people donate and they predict the score, and they predict the distance, the longest distance. So if you can hit 20 doubles super quick, you're likely to be in with a shout. I had a trial run earlier, and it took me 11 minutes to hit 20 doubles. So I'll have 20 minutes to run. So we'll see how far I can get for that.
Okay, I like that.
To be honest, that's a really good incentive to hit your doubles quickly. I do not like running.
Well, no. The thing is,
the time on the doubles,
you do it as a pair. So you've got like in the traditional sort of bullseye. So you've got your runner and you've got your darts player. You see, and you don't have to do both. Always a thinker. You see, get a dart player, get a runner. Come on, dude.
I just need to find a runner.
Yeah, not me.
No. Yeah, anything else you want from us? Obviously, helping you promote and push this. We're more than willing to do a bit, and definitely anything involved with charity. We'd love to be a part of that as well. So keep us in mind. Just don't make me run.
Yeah,
no. I mean, the reason I went for that one was because I thought it would take me about half an hour to hit the doubles, so I wouldn't have to run very much. But my trial run said 11 minutes, so it looks like I'm running for about 20, which I might have to cut the time to 15 minutes.
Now, like, you could do something almost in. I'm trying to think, is there anything that you could do in reverse? And then, I don't know, is there anything that you could do in terms of like number of steps or number of meters? So you look at like a double one, a double two, a double three, and you go around the board, and can you add that up, which indicates a certain length of track or field or whatever? So if you end up with like 1,000 points, you've got to run 1,000 meters, or I don't know. Is there? Yeah, leave that with me. I have to think about that. There's, I'm sure there's something we could do. Yeah, I'll get me thinking out on there, because I'm sure there's something that you could definitely do, that sort of darts running distance time thing. So yeah, that's in there. So watch this space.
100%, yeah. But yeah, just getting back to the whiskey though, thank you very much again for letting us taste that, because I tell you what, I enjoyed that a heck of a lot more than I thought I was going to. Yeah, that's it. Share it on there. So hopefully the folks at home can see that. That is a really good one. Something to look forward to in 2021. Hopefully the end of COVID as well, if this vaccine gets sorted. But if it doesn't, well, we've got something to take your mind off it.
This could be the vaccine as well.
You never know.
Absolutely, that's absolutely. No, just I know we mentioned the COVID and stuff, and it is a nightmare, obviously for everybody really. But we're genuinely looking forward to coming up to Edinburgh, sort of 2021, particularly, you know, the disability darts and stuff, and obviously hopefully catching up with you guys and stuff. So really hope that sort of it doesn't put pay to that, because, you know, that's hotels are booked and whatever, you know, we're all up for it. So yeah, fingers crossed it doesn't sort of put pay to that, and still goes ahead. And obviously we can catch up and have a few beers and maybe find a spare board and have a game or something. So
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good fun.
Awesome. So again, thank you for joining us again, David. That's fantastic. And thank you for sharing again that whiskey with us, because we really, really enjoyed this. But now I'm going to hand over to Gaz, if you want to say your goodbyes, David.
Yep, thank you for having me on again, guys. Enjoy the next show.
See you, Dave.
Oh, wonderful.
Cheers,
Wonderful.
pal.
Thank you.
So, guys, welcome back to episode 43. Thanks to Dave from Double Trouble. I know that Adam and Andy are very appreciative of the whiskey and the whiskey tasting, and obviously we're grateful for Dave for sort of coming on to our podcast. Just before I get into the episode, if we want to go through sort of what we're drinking tonight. So, Adam, do you want to go first?
Yeah, well, whatever I was going to drink, it's going to be a little bit on the back burner after that whiskey, because I tell you what, that really was a very, very good one with loads of character. So I had to pick up something that was a little bit interesting. Now, I've seen these in the papers, and I've seen them in the press and on social media, so I had to pick them up. It's the Brewdog Ald IPA. So it's the beer that's available through Aldi that is apparently made by Brewdog, and it is a session IPA. You know my feeling on session IPAs, so I didn't have that high expectation of it, because they always taste a little bit watery, if I'm honest. And this, yeah, I'm about as disappointed as I expected to be.
a little bit underwhelmed, shall we say?
It's okay.
And Andy?
I've gone for a drink that's just like me. It's cold. It's blonde. It's a Tatton Gold.
Oh,
I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, I've got it in a Tatton glass as well.
Lovely.
Nice amber colour.
very nice.
Yeah. There you go. Marvellous. And I am drinking a good old favourite, which is Leffe. Haven't had it for a few weeks on the podcast. That's made a reappearance, and I love that drink.
Nice.
So as I said, guys, episode 43, and I'm sort of going to talk today a little bit about something that most adults will have seen, most adults possibly will have used, and possibly owned. And if you're still intrigued as to what it is, there are 1.4 billion of them estimated to be on the planet at the moment, and there are more than 400 different varieties available in the UK, obviously more in other countries. And if you excuse the pun, I'm in the driving seat, and this week we're going to be talking about cars. And I'm here all week. So looking forward to this. Just thought about, what are the things that sort of people talk about and likes and dislikes and stuff. So, and we're going to sort of explore your first car, your favourite car, have you had any car catastrophes, loads of things. And as normal, when I'm in the driver's seat and I'm leading, there's a couple of sort of questions that I'm going to throw out there. So I'm going to ask Andy, I'll go for first. Your first car, stroke, van. I know, obviously, vans and stuff, but I mean, whether it's a car, I mean, obviously, some people have bikes and stuff. But what if it was a car? What was your first car?
So my first car, I got it 2003, and it was a Peugeot 306 HDI. So it was I loved it. Like I had it. I bought it with like 50,000 on the clock. It was a W reg, so it was like 3 years old.
Right.
And by the time I finished with it, it was on 200,000, I think it was. And I gave it to my dad, but it was sort of like, it was dying at that point.
Wow.
But yeah, I loved it because it's like a 2-litre turbo. And I was like, 18 at the time. And it was just rapid. And it was fuel efficient as well.
Cool.
Good
Ad,
car.
what about yourself then?
My first car, I've got to be honest, I can't remember the year, but I remember it was a Volkswagen Polo. But it wasn't just any old Polo. It's one of those rare ones that had a boot on it as well. So it didn't just have the hatchback. It was a saloon Polo. And literally, whenever I describe it to everybody says, "Oh, like so a Jetta." No, it was a Polo. It just had a boot on the back. It wasn't actually a Jetta. Yes,
Wow.
It looked like one. But the boot was huge. You could live in it. I've not had a car with a boot that as big since. Could do with one now, actually.
I was going to say, absolutely, yeah. It's weird because I was going through, like, I double checked with Big Grey on this, and because I had a memory of what I thought my first car was, and I sort of rang Big Grey. Obviously, if there's any new listeners, Big Grey is my old man. And I rang him just to sort of double check. And my first car was a Triumph Dolomite, and it was mustard yellow, and I loved that car. It got like a mahogany dash, and actually it was 4 gears and stuff. Obviously, back in the day, there was none of this sort of 5 gears and 6 gears and all that. It was sort of 4 gears, but it actually was rapid, and it was a mustard yellow, and actually ended up. There was a woman that sort of hit the back of it. And sort of basically sort of wrote it off, and I was gutted because I loved that car. It's like your first car, mustard yellow, and everyone looked at it and goes, "Oh, it's horrible," sort of thing. But you got inside, it was like a mahogany dash, and sort of the gear stick was sort of up there somewhere on, not down by the side. It was brilliant, loved it. And then we were driving. It was up by Torquay. People obviously in the UK and people local to us, they'll know where Miller and Carter is. We were driving around there, me and an ex-girlfriend. And it's really icy, and I sort of slipped on the ice and pulled the car up behind somebody else that had slipped, and he damaged his wheel, and he was changing a wheel. And then as I was getting out of the car, this guy said, "Oh, watch out, there's another one." And I turned around, there's another car basically just sliding off this road, basically smashing into the back of the car. I was like, "Oh, no." So all the sort of the exhaust and everything with sort of petrol tank stuff was all dented and stuff, and they just said basically it's just a write-off. And I was like, no, this woman put hands on me like, "I'm sorry." I was like, "Yes, you've just admitted guilt there. You've just admitted blame. That's fine." But yeah, so that was my first car, and I loved that. And when I was talking to Big Grey, actually, he was saying that his first car, I was like, "What was your first car, Dad?" And he was like, "It was a Morris 10. And he went, "It's the one with the foot plates." And I was like, foot plates. Genuinely didn't know what they were, sort of thing. And he said, if you imagine like an old gangster movie where they would be shooting like Tommy guns, they'd be standing on the side of the car on these like little sort of foot plates. He was like, that's what they were. And I was like, no way. And I was like, proper gangster sort of thing. So, and then I spoke to Sydney. He said he had a Ford Escort that was red that he wrote off. He crashed it. Shock horror.
Yeah, that is a shock. To be honest, I can picture Big Grey in a pinstripe suit and a fedora.
Yeah, I picture him in worse and I've seen him worse, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's not go there. But yeah, so he was like, "Yeah, it's the one with the foot plates," and I was like, "Yeah," I genuinely didn't sort of know what it was and stuff. So Andy, so when you were a kid, then what was the thing that 17, 18, you passed your test? How many times did you take you to pass your test? Then, by the way,
Just the one.
Yeah, just the one for me as well, lad.
2.
Oh, dude, what did you fail on?
The first test I took, I failed because I pulled out in front of a Jeep, and basically the guy had to grab hold of the wheel and slam the brakes on to avoid an accident. So, and that was about 2 minutes in. So after that, I thought, well, that's that one done, isn't it? And then second time around, obviously double down on the nerves. And I got stuck behind a bin lorry. So the guy, literally, when your knees shaking and you're trying to control the clutch. And he says, "Well, I know it's at the start of the test, so I don't normally do this, but we might as well do your manoeuvres now. Do you want to do a 3-point turn?" It's like, not even slightly, brother, but go on. And I passed it with 3 minors, I think it was. So I was pretty happy with that.
Cool. Yeah, I was a first time. I think my Mrs. Jenny, she was a second time, I think. And she was like, "Oh, all the best people pass second time." I'm like, no, they don't. No, they don't. So when you were back as a kid then, what was the thing that would appeal to you car-wise? Was it speed? Was it colour? Was it number of seats? What was the... And I'm not going to ask you for your sort of favourite type of car, but what were the things that appealed to you as a kid? Were you a petrol head? I mean, I'm not a massive petrol head, but I sort of appreciate cars and stuff, and I wasn't a massive petrol head. But what sort of appealed to you when you were a kid then? Andy, do you want to go first?
I'm sort of fortunate. My dad was a truck driver, so we used to go like truck shows and stuff like that. And so we used to see all sorts of cars and stuff like that. And I'd say it's more the aesthetics when I was younger. So
yeah,
like monster trucks, seeing them like crush stuff. And then all the cartoons I used to watch like in the 80s were the best. Like Mask. And,
yeah.
Can't remember the other ones, but yeah, there's loads of stuff. And then like what was it? Hasselhoff with the kit.
Oh, Knight Rider.
Knight Rider, there we go, yeah. But yeah, it's more of how they looked rather than... I didn't really care about how fast they were or anything when I was younger.
Yeah,
it's just like, oh, they got to look cool.
Yeah, that's it. It's just like, there you go, like, arm like this, driving an arm like this out the window, giving it one of them. Get some tunes on the beatbox back in the day. And what about yourself then?
Probably similar to Andy. I'm definitely if we ever cover off the car history at any point during this podcast, you'll know I'm not a petrol head. But growing up, it was definitely the aesthetics of the car. I think growing up at the time that we did, at our age, everybody was looking at those supercars. They were becoming prevalent then. So things like that. I used to go to the Birmingham Motor Show every year, the NEC, or every other year, I think it was, and go and just have a look at the supercars that they had on display there. And then, like Andy says, looking to America at those times, American TV was huge. So you had the A-Team, you had the Fall Guy, Knight Rider, all that kind of stuff. I love those. And to be honest with you, I still do. Those are the cars that I look at now. And is it something I want to own? I don't know. Probably not. They're not practical. But it's just a little echo of my youth that it brings back to me.
But you say, is it something that you want to own now? Probably not. But I tell you what, I'd be mint to drive it. Do you know what I mean? Just a couple of those sort of cars and stuff, and we'll get into sort of a bit of sort of TV and film cars and that sort of stuff. So you mentioned about car histories and stuff. Okay, so thinking about obviously all your cars and stuff. So what's your favourite car then? I mean, Andy, you mentioned that you loved your first car, but so out of all of the cars that you've had, and I suppose you could go down, if you had utes or like trucks or whatever, but what's the favourite sort of vehicle, car, whatever that you've had, and sort of why, I suppose?
It's probably my Toyota MR2. It was a
classic car.
It was a Mark II, so a 92 plate, I think it was. So it's like a 2-seater, had the like a T-top roof, so you could take the glass panels out above your head.
Nice.
2 litre sort of thing. It was decent. It's sort of like, at the time, I was commuting to Manchester, and I was on all right money, but we were saving up for a house, so I just bought a newer car because like all sorts of stuff started going wrong with it. But recently, I've been looking at them again to get one of the little projects.
proper retro one.
Yeah, but I loved it. I mean, like all my other cars, I tend to go for. I've had 3 BMWs, Mercedes, and but that car was just different. I don't know why. It's just like niche, I suppose. And
yeah.
But yeah, that car, I want it again.
Brilliant. Okay, have you got a favourite? Does one stand out, or I mean, I remember your cars, obviously, but.
Well, yeah, I've pretty much crashed them all as well, funnily enough. But just going back to Andy's MR2, we always share a few pictures on social media throughout the week, and there's a really weird picture of a really weird day when some people stopped us in Holmes Chapel, and there's me posing on the bonnet of Andy's MR2 for a photograph for strangers as well.
We I think you came around ours because we were going to go to the Chinese, weren't we? And then there's like a group of people walking past looking at my car. So we're like, as we're walking outside, like, what the hell's going on? And they had some like works too, didn't they? But they weren't from Holmes Chapel. They're from like, I don't know, Manchester or something like that. They basically got the train to there. And they had all these like random tasks. And one of them was like, is it a James Bond theme or something like that? So
yeah,
you sprawled on the bonnet, and then everyone else is stood next to it.
Yeah, I don't know.
You have to dig that photo out.
We'll dig it out.
Photo is.
Brilliant. I don't know what's James Bond though about a fat lad sprawled on the bonnet of a Toyota, but
Odd job.
Odd job, yeah. But yeah, it was a strange day, but yeah, that was a great car. To be honest with you, my car history probably is appalling compared to some of yours because I say I'm really not a car guy. But my favourite car has to be my first car, that Polo. I love that car. Yeah, it had character. Yes, wouldn't start on a cold day. It had a manual choke, so trying to get it going was a challenge. You stopped at the lights.
Chokes. So for those younger kids that possibly,
that's true.
You know, a manual choke, you will have no clue what that is. But it was basically something that you would use on cold mornings and when cars wouldn't start, that you would literally have to manually try to sort of effectively kickstart and jumpstart the car. And they'd be like, don't use, you're flooding it. And you then usually choke too much and all sorts of stuff. It was horrendous.
Well, my car now has got that start-stop technology, and this was pretty much that back in the day. It would stop when you got to the lights, and if you get it started again, that was an absolute winner. You know, funny, my brother sent me a website which you can go on, and I was looking for it today, but I cannot find it. And you actually type in the license plate of your car, and he says, I looked for your Polo on there. I couldn't find it, so it must have been written off. It's like, yeah, I wrote it off.
Is it the government's MOT website? Is it?
Something like that. And he says, I was absolutely gutted because I had a Honda TRX. I said, look, it's not been taxed in about 6 years. It's like, John, you had it for 6 years. You didn't tax it. So.
I remember that CRX he had.
That was a beaut.
Is that the 2-seater one as well?
Yeah, 2-seater, but he had like a little bucket seat in the back, and it was red leather seats, red leather steering wheel. Yeah. It was like a pimp's car.
It was weird because like we talked about some car history now, about some horrendous cars, and again, you know, I might talk about a couple of them, but my favourite car that I had for years, and Adam will chuckle at this, and it was shit, but I loved it, was the Montego. It was absolutely just the best car in the world. It was horrendous. It was a big thing, and it was B683 GRX was the license plate, and I don't know whether we picked up secondhand or something, but I ended up driving it. Oh my God, it was like a tank. It was horrendous. But I absolutely loved that car. While you're on about a photo, actually, I think there's a photo of me and Adam. We look like two proper goobers, and we're just sitting on the front of the bonnet of that car as well. So I'm
with a beer.
With a beer. Ad's there, and he's like looking relatively cool, and he's like, so did you have like Dockers on, you know, like jeans and stuff, and I'm there looking like a 1980s shell suit kid. It's like literally just like proper great big like baggy shell suit, glasses off the sides of my face and stuff, and you're just like, what a tool. But
I tell you what though, dude, you just given that license plate out. If any of our listeners know that car or own that car, get in touch and we'll buy it back. True story. That's Andy's next project.
Honestly, I'm not even being funny. If there was World War III and that car is still around, forget sending in the Sherman tanks, forget sending in everything else, just send in the Montego, because that car was like a tank. It was big. The turning circle on the Titanic was shorter than the Montego. No power assisted steering. So you got your steering wheel, you were literally like this. You're literally trying to force this car. Oh, it's horrendous. But I absolutely loved that car.
It sums up the 80s when you look at it. It's proper like square or rectangular, as you say.
If obviously if you're watching on YouTube and stuff, then you know, Google it on another window. If you're listening on the podcast and stuff, then open up a browser and go and look at it. But yeah, the Montego, I loved that car. Absolutely loved that car. And we've got, you know, me and Adam, obviously, there's a photo of me and Adam on the front of it and stuff. And that car, we've been to various places in that car and stuff. And it's just, it was a shit car. It was terrible. It didn't drive very well. It wasn't very fast. It wasn't very, didn't consume fuel efficiently. And it was just horrendous, but I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
My van's like that, where it's got no power steering. It's got choke, but it's an auto choke. So it just reeks of petrol like for 5 minutes while it's starting up and stuff. But yeah, I love that. I love my van. I actually prefer driving my van to my car. Like, yeah,
it's weird. It's weird, isn't it? Because you get like, you sort of do get attachments to stuff, and actually some, you know, people looking from the outside will be like, why is it that you love that? Why is it you like that? I don't know. There was just something about that car. Whether it just brings back, whether at the time I probably hated it, but bringing back just memories of just like having like real good times, like with Ad and mates and stuff in it. just loved that car. And actually, you look at it now when you Google it and stuff, you think, oh my God, that actually went from A to B. It looks horrendous.
It goes well with a tracksuit, though, or a shell suit.
It did.
Honestly, I don't know if I've got it somewhere, but you must have that photo somewhere. So
We've already shared it on our Instagram and Facebook. Actually.
Yes. So it might be somewhere. So we might have to sort of try and get that again and put that. But yeah, I look horrendous on that, which is sort of funny. There's a couple of honourable mentions of when I spoke to Sid. He said he used to have a Honda Prelude, and he said that came close to being his favourite car. But his was an Audi RS5. He said he loved that car, and it is a sweet looking car. And I remember driving his Prelude once, and it was first time I'd been in a car that got like a twin camshaft, sort of thing, twin shafts. It's like drive. You get to like so many thousand revs, and then the next one would kick in, and you're like, Jesus, it's sort of almost like go again. You were like, God, this is like shit off a shovel. It's like ridiculous. And it was so fast. It was sleek. It was black. It looked a bit like the kit car, actually. It did look proper decent. So, okay, so we've gone through that then. The flip side then, what's the worst car you've had? Because I've had some horror stories. So there must be some, whether it's, and Sid put the thought in my mind because I was chatting to him about it. He said he had a 1.2 Seat, and he said it was a courtesy car, and he said he could run faster than that car. He said it was absolutely horrendous. So what's your worst car then? Was the one that either you were disappointed with it, or it didn't live up to your expectations, or it was just shit and you didn't expect it to be, or whatever? What's your worst car?
I bought a I can't remember what year it was now. It might be 52 plate BMW 5 Series. So it was an E39. So the Angel Eyes is a M530 Sport. So it's like a big meaty car. It was dead quiet and everything like that. And I bought it because at the time I lived in Brussels. I was like, well, I'll buy a car because I'm only paying for my rent. I've got no outgoings or anything like that. So I thought, I spent it was like $4,000 or $4,500 or something like that. Bought it from a guy in Sandbach. Come over here, drove it, loved it. And then when I came over again, I went and picked it up. And I was driving. I was like, oh, I love this car. And it was just quick and it was quiet and everything like that. Yeah. And then that car is like these big. It had the different unofficial wheels on it. So it had these M Sport wheels, but they weren't like the official ones. So in the center. So when you put a wheel on, you've got your bolts being have this like center bit, and the wheel's supposed to match that, so it sits snug.
Yeah.
And that 5 Series had like a big hub on it basically. So when you got the wheels, you have to have them you had to be drilled out, or you got spacers on them and stuff like that. But the guy had bought these cheap wheels, slapped them on. So when I test drove it, they had this spacer on it, so it drove fine. But when I picked it up, though, I think he must have took them off, because when I went 60 miles an hour, he used to judder because like the wheels was like vibrating. Oh my God, I hated it.
Wow.
And it took me a while to I'd say it took me a while. Obviously I lived abroad, so I was only driving it once a month or whatever. I was like, what the hell is this? And then I did some research, found out what it was, bought the spacers, and it was all good. But so I had that issue. But then the head gasket went on it, so it was always overheating.
Yeah.
So I spent loads of money getting that fixed, and then it's another oil was pissing out of it and stuff. I was just like, it's never ending with this car.
The proper money pit of a car.
Oh, and it was just as I moved back over it, I started using it as a daily driver as well. So I was like, I don't know when this is going to pack up this. But it was like my first. Well, I had a Beamer before that, but it's like my first big luxury car sort of thing. It's too big anyway. It was if you go Sainsbury's or wherever. You go in a bay and it would fill the lines. It was that big. It's just it's too big. But yeah, the wheels and then the head gasket and all that stuff it really infuriated me. I sold it back to the same guy though, because he had a BMW garage thing.
A dealership. Wow. Oh, fair enough. And what about yourself then?
I've had a couple which weren't great. That I had a Fiat Brava which I bought strangely because I actually really like the look of the car. Google that one if you want to look back to it. An interesting looking one, but I really like that one. And I had it about a month when one of the pistons exited through the roof of the engine and actually hit the roof of the hood or the bonnet rather.
The bonnet.
Yeah, so that just outside of Well, it's out of warranty, so I managed to get them to pay towards it, but that one cost me a fortune. Probably the Vauxhall Vectra I had, honestly. The amount of things that went wrong with that car, it's just ridiculous. Literally, get through its MOT, and I think, oh, that's a winner, that is. Then within a couple of weeks, something major would just go absolutely pear-shaped on it. It cost me a ridiculous amount of money.
Did he not give you clues as to like possibly it was the way he took it to be MOT tested? Yeah, it'd be fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I hope not, because I still take it there to this day. But no, like the worst one was the onboard computer would just cut out. So literally, you'd be down the motorway doing 70. And then all of a sudden, like the electrics would all cut out. So stereo was gone, everything was gone. The engine's still running, but all the needles are pointing towards the bottom. It's like, right, I don't know how much fuel I've got because I have not been paying that much attention. I don't know how many revs I'm using. I have no idea what speed I'm doing right now. And I know ignorance is no excuse in the eyes of the law. So that one sucked. And then I remember taking that in to be done. And while I was in, I had a Peugeot 206, and literally, as a courtesy car, and someone the size of me, it was like Donkey Kong driving around in Mario Kart. Yeah, it was. But I tell you what, it was good fun to drive, though. It was like a little go-kart whipping down the motorway. I loved it.
Wow, brilliant.
I always think of the tall guy out of The Simpsons, when there's that little car and the massive guy gets out. It's like Nelson.
It's just they get like the knees, like you can see people like the knees and stuff, and then like their arms like this because they physically like literally can't do that. So it's like this driving sort of thing.
Oh, it was like Hightower in Police Academy sat in the back of that Honda Civic.
It's funny because I remember turning up because my old man, bless him, he used to know a couple of, let's say, dodgy dealers and stuff, and he used to try and get nice, and he used to try and get, and there was always, I remember this old adage, and people say, never buy stuff off cars off mates or friends, because if something goes wrong, they always blame them, and this and the other, and he basically bought me, through the years, of a couple of cars, and both of them were shit, and one of them, so we had the solar powered car, which was one. And then we had what Jenny labelled the paper mache car, which was, and I still to this day don't understand how Jenny's old man let me drive Jenny around in it. So basically, we were driving this one, and it's wet, roads were wet, and Jenny's foot. I was driving, Jenny's in the passenger seat, and you could almost like hear her when she put her foot down on the floor, it like sloshing and splashing. I was like, what the hell's that? So what is that? Anyway, so she got out and she basically put a hand onto the passenger sort of footwell. And like a hand was just sopping wet. And I mean like absolutely sopping wet. I was like, what the fudging hell's that sort of thing? Anyway, cut a long story short, this happened a couple of times now. Jenny's old man came out and he sort of bent down and he sort of went like this and looked under sort of the front passenger side wheel arch. And he's like, yeah, it's basically paper mache. So literally, it must have been in a crash. And what they did is they basically just packed it with paper mache, done some sort of weird like spray job over, and like sold it to my old man for like 400 quid or something. And my old man's like, there you go, guys, you can drive. I was like, oh, thanks, Dad, this looks like something. And literally, like the front passenger side, there must have been just like no car there. It was literally just like old newspaper, just like mushed in. So of course, obviously, every time it's splashing, you're driving on the road, it's splashing up. It literally was just coming up the footwell. So Jenny's old man, I remember, sort of, he was like, how long are you going to keep that car for? Which was code language for, my daughter ain't getting in that anymore. So you need
Fred Flintstone wants it back.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Honestly, it was horrendous. And then you had the solar powered car that Jenny called it. And whenever it turned up, you should get in, it'd be like fine. And then after about a minute, there was this really high pitch, like literally every single time we got in the car. Still to this day, don't know what made the noise, don't know why it was happening, but it literally was like. And then you slow down, it just felt like you've died. It's like, and literally you just thought, oh my god, this car's going to explode at any moment. And Jenny sort of labelled that a paper mache car. So yeah, they were a couple of pretty shitty cars. In fact, they were probably the worst car. But yeah, the paper mache one, I remember sort of trying to convince Jenny's dad that actually it was all okay and it's all above board, it's all kosher, and he's like basically like stopped short of like getting on his hands and knees and basically tearing out these bits of newspaper that were like, yeah, that really should be packed into the sort of front side of a car. So that was a bit weird. Right, so moving on then. So we've talked about crappy cars. What's your, I say, bucket list car? If your magic numbers came in, so what car do you look at and go, you know what, I really, 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 and I'll give you two, because you can't just have one. If your magic lottery numbers come in, you can't just have one car. So I'll give you two. I'll go first just to give you some time thinking it. I've always said mine would be an Aston Martin. I've always said for years, for me, it's just, I just love the Aston Martin. So Aston Martin DBS Volant, and it would be just my dream car, absolute dream car. I've always said it, and I'd have that, and I'd probably have like a bigger car, you know, like one of the big, sort of, they like the Porsche Cayenne sort of thing, you know, a bit like a sort of more for the family sort of thing, you know. If there's just me or me and a mate, it'd be like, right, let's get in the Aston Martin, let's just bomb it down this sort of autobahn or whatever. But if you got family and stuff, it'd be like one of the bigger sort of, you know, like the 4x4 sort of crossover things. So I think I'd have that. So for me, that the Aston Martin is, the DBS is, and I say I'm not a massive sort of muscle car sort of person, not a massive petrol head, but to me that's like, yeah, that it looks mint, it goes fast enough, it would be proper lottery car. So I don't know who wants to go first. What would you sort of dream? I say dream car, lottery winning car. What would it be?
I've got a list of 10.
You go for your life, mate. You can list all 10 if you want.
Think, like American muscle cars is always going to be on there. So there's like 3 that always pique my interest. There's a 69 Dodge Charger with a supercharger poking out.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, there we go. I wouldn't have it in that though. It'd just be jet black.
Oh.
Like my heart. Yeah, a big ass like supercharger poking out. Sort of like Fast and Furious, I think.
Yeah.
Then like a Mustang 65 sort of Mustang.
Wow.
I like is it a 69 Plymouth convertible? So that's like a boat. It's like this massive. I can't even describe it. It's just a massive tugboat. It's just huge.
Yeah.
But then going back to like a 4x4 as well, I quite like the Mercedes G wagons. So it's like they've not changed the design for like 30 years. You know, it's like all metal work and it's all like squarish, dead square and stuff like that. So probably one of them, an American muscle car, or maybe yeah, that'd be it, I think. I'll stop there.
yeah. Otherwise, you could talk for hours now. And what about yourself, then? Because I know you'd be thinking about the odd sort of muscle car, American muscle car, wouldn't you?
Yeah, 100%. Like we said, growing up watching American TV when we were kids, I've always loved muscle cars. Like I say, the 69 Dodge Charger, which was obviously the General Lee from the Dukes of Hazzard, was a 69 Charger. I love that one. Strangely enough, my daughter, who loves her Hot Wheels car, her favourite car there's a Mercury Cougar. She loves the 68 Mercury Cougar and a 69 black Dodge Charger. She loves it in black as well. We bought her 3. None of them were in black, so we had to find a black one. Came out to buy it online to get, just to keep her happy. But for me, again, it's going back to sort of films, and I apologise if we're stealing a little bit for something you have in mind in future, Gazza. I am a big fan of Burt Reynolds, so I love Cannonball Run, and I love Smokey and the Bandit. So it would have to be the Trans Am, that 77 Trans Am. And well, I know in the film it was a 76 Trans Am, but they've put the 77 front on it for that. It would have to be the original 77 Trans Am in black, with the gold Firebird on the front and the Bandit painted on the driver door. For me, that would be the ultimate car to own. Just love it. Is it the best car in the world to drive? No, probably not.
No.
And actually, if we're sharing car stories, we need to get Donny from the producer from the Tiddy and Charlotte show to share his car at some point, because I think he drives a bright orange Trans Am, and I've not seen a picture of it yet. Well, I would love to see that car. Wow. And then the other one. Again, another muscle car. Probably I would go with. There's a couple in mind, but if you had to nail me down, I'd go with the Oldsmobile 442, the 69 Oldsmobile, because it's just for me what a quintessential muscle car should look like. That fantastic long body, that curved nose, the curved back. great on the straights, absolutely lethal if you're going to take it into a corner at speed. It is going to kill you. But I wouldn't want to drive it fast. I just want to go cruising in it.
Yeah.
Throw, maybe a mullet wig, throw a vest on.
Yes, you have stolen part of my thunder, but that's fine. It's weird because if there's anybody out there that's sort of is willing to share, their favorite car. Look, if we've got any listeners that own any of the cars that have been mentioned, please share a picture of it, because and it's weird that you mentioned sort of Hot Wheels, because I was going to talk about sort of toy cars and stuff, such as Scalextrics and Hot Wheels and dinky cars and stuff. Just sort of growing up, obviously you would have sort of toy cars in mind, but for me, obviously, and Dad really sort of child of the 70s stroke early 80s sort of thing, you would like the dinky cars were all American muscle cars. Literally, that's what they were. Weren't they? That was what the cars looked like. So, so without sort of repeating what a couple of guys have said, I just thought, in a way, I'd give you a bit of a quiz. And we went down, and I went down. Okay, so classic TV stroke film cars. So I'm going to give you the name of the film stroke TV series, and I want to see whether you can get the car, basically. So I'll go first, and the first one is relatively straightforward. Back to the Future.
DMC-12.
Okay, and the makers?
Well, the
DeLorean.
DMC is the DeLorean Motor Company, and the model.
Yes, the DeLorean DMC. Was it 1981? Film was released in 84, something like that. It was 83, 84, something like that. But so yeah, the DeLorean. So I'll give you that. And this car's been mentioned already, but I don't know whether Andy can remember it. So I was going to then say Knight Rider. Do you remember what it was?
Pontiac Firebird.
It was, Andy.
It was a 1982 Pontiac Firebird.
It was a Pontiac Firebird. Yeah. I'm not going to ask you whether you knew what KIT stands for, because I did have a look earlier, but I can't remember what it was now.
Knight Industries 2000.
Oh, there you go. You see, look at Andy, you big geek.
Dude, I love Knight Rider.
How cool
I love the Hoff. I love the Hoff.
But honestly, how cool? Like seriously, like growing up, how cool was that car? Like literally, how cool was that car?
More to the point now, how dangerous was that steering wheel? you need to grab somewhere, like you lose it on a corner, it's game over. You've got nothing to grab. You got two hands.
It's like this. You're like, oh, my hand's gone straight through. Where is it? Okay, so the next one then, Herbie.
Well, it was a Volkswagen Beetle, wasn't it?
It was a Volkswagen Beetle, yeah. And I was trying to think Herbie Goes Bananas. Was it the Love Bug as well, or something like that? Was it called? So I don't know. But Herbie Goes Bananas. You've mentioned number 4 already. I was going to say Smokey the Bandit. 77 Pontiac trap, just like
beautiful.
Just a beautiful car. Just simple as that. Just as you say, I just get in it, drive it, cruise in it. Not like just put some tunes on, just cruise. Dead simple.
The seat in that car, I just imagine it smells of Burton Leon Reynolds' musk. It's just love that car.
Pour on, literally, just like sprawled across it like this. Yeah. Right, so the next one was obviously Dukes of Hazzard, and you mentioned the 1969 Dodge Charger, which is again just obviously with the General Lee on it. So yeah, there you go. And I don't know whether that could be as cool as sliding across the bonnet, trying to get in and dive through the windows. I'd probably do myself a bit of an injury if I'm honest, but yeah. So that's right. The next one then, Bullet. If you remember the film Bullet, do you know what car it was?
Was it a Mach 1 Mustang?
Oh, it was a Mustang. It was a
yeah.
It was a 1968 Mustang GT. It was. Oh.
But in that film, just much like Andy, I always preferred the car that it was chasing, the black Dodge Charger.
Yeah,
it's like aggressive on it in the background.
Yeah,
it's like a panther, it's like waiting to prey on it and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but and then the last one. And we all know the film, and we all know what the car was called. But do you know the model? So Ghostbusters.
It was a Cadillac.
It was a Cadillac ad. Good shout.
Was it a Miller Meteor?
It was. It was a 1959 Meteor Cadillac.
I wouldn't have got the year.
Dude, do you know what they call the car? What was it called? Can you remember?
Ecto 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be dead honest. The only reason I know that is I looked into probably about 6 months ago. I thought if we had a car for TBR, it would have to be something like Hector. What we could do a podcast from the back of it, and that's the only reason I googled it ages ago.
Wow. Well, to be fair, dude, I'm pretty impressed with you. And both of you there. That was pretty impressive. So, in terms of classic TV films and stuff, it could be. I mean, I nearly went down the Only Fools and Horses sort of Trotter, sort of Robin Reliant type.
Full enough, because me and Andy have talked about cars for TBR, and he sent me something that he found online for sale for £1,750. That I'm yet to convince Kim is a good buy, which was a Reliant Rialto painted in Italian police colours.
To be fair, I'd probably be in Kim's corner there. I think that probably isn't a good buy, to be fair. So in terms of are there any other sort of standout? I mean, for me, obviously, Dukes of Hazzard, Knight Rider, A-Team with the van. Although typically it was just an impression of driving down a straight road, sort of Mr. T's like this. You're like, dude, you need to learn to drive because the road's dead straight, and you're doing this. I'm not surprised stuff falling off everywhere. But so, what are the sort of classic sort of cars or film or TV cars? I mean, are there any that you can think of that you would have sort of maybe put into that classic genre? I mean, I was going to go down the Bond route, and obviously you look at sort of cars that Bond has had in the past. And you got Lotus. Was it Lotus Esprit was in there and stuff as well? And
the Esprit was my favourite, the one that went underwater.
That was the underwater one. Yeah,
not a big Bond fan. I apologise now, obviously, because total, obviously, respect to Sean Connery, who's passed away recently. But Roger Moore was my favourite Bond, and I know I'm probably not in the most popular camp for saying that, but that's true. I love that Lotus Esprit. A couple of cars just to jump in there, if you don't mind. Wayne's World, the AMC Pacer out of that.
You know what? I looked at that. And there was a couple. So there was a couple from there was one from Wayne's World, and then there was a couple from the Fast and Furious series that. And there was one from. I haven't seen them, you see. So there was a couple from Fast and Furious 1. There's a couple of cars that were mentioned in there, and I was a bit like, yeah, okay, I haven't seen the film, so I couldn't really sort of wax lyrical about them and stuff. But
there's like 10 of them.
Honestly,
there's Dodge Charger in it. Well.
Genuinely,
the Dodge Charger looks badass. I've seen the Dodge Charger from it.
When I was obviously doing a bit of sort of research and stuff for this, I looked at a couple of the photos and stuff, and the cars look mint, but I think I can genuinely say I actually haven't seen a Fast and Furious film from start to finish. I've probably seen like 10 minutes of one and another bit of this, but actually from start to finish to sit down and watch them, I genuinely don't think I've seen one. Honestly. I mean, if you can tell me they're a decent watch, Andy, then I'll perhaps watch them or whatever.
From basically, you had like the first two. Well, the first one with like Vin Diesel and all that sort of stuff. I think it's basically 1 to 3 it's a bit of a mix, a bit of a mess. 4 onwards is like in a series, so there's actually like a story to follow. It's worth watching them all.
Was it Hobson Shaw? Is that or is that something? Is that because I think
like a spin-off? So
okay,
they were both in a couple of the Fast films, and then because they were like it's Jason Statham and The Rock, they're quite big characters, aren't they? So they earned their own film, sideshow, something.
Okay,
that's worth a watch as well.
Yes, I think Amy, was it Amy or Abby? Amy might have watched Hobbs and Shaw, but I honestly, genuinely, haven't seen any of the sort of Fast and Furious films. I mean, I was trying to think of sort of cartoons and stuff. And I was thinking like the wacky races, and I was thinking, what vehicles were in the wacky races? You just growing up, do you know what I mean? Just growing up like cartoons and stuff. And I was thinking, I can't for the life of me. And then you've got Thunderbirds and stuff, and the one that was, I don't know what car Parker drove, but was it like that? I don't even know what it was it?
It was like a pink Rolls Royce type.
Well, I was going to say Rolls Royce, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't want to make an idiot of myself.
I don't think it was a real Rolls Royce because it had 3 sets of wheels, didn't it? But I tell you on, dude, the Ford Econoline from Dumb and Dumber that was done up like the dog. when he had his grooming business. How awesome would that be?
Dude, genuinely, when I was looking at the stuff, it came up and I was like, no way. And it got the ears and stuff down. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So, I mean, I was trying to think, I say sort of, for me, I mean, Knight Rider and Dukes of Hazzard were the two that stood out. for me growing up. But okay, so moving on then. Next sort of question: what make? And I don't know whether you know this, and I don't know whether or not you've cheated and done a bit of research. What make is the world's most expensive car? And this was at auction, so it's not necessarily produced for road, but at auction. What model was it?
I would assume. Go on, Andy. Go on.
I was going to say, wasn't it like the last 5 or 10 years?
Well,
it's quite a big range, but
it was sold at auction in 2018, and it was sold by Sotheby's in Monterey, I think is in California, and it's sold 2 years ago to a private car collector. But do you know what type of car it was?
I was going to say a Ferrari, but it wasn't.
It is. No, it is. It's a Ferrari. It is a Ferrari.
There's two that spring to mind. There is the original Ferrari GTO, not the one that the rebooted one that we'll remember from the 80s, which, topped out about 190 miles an hour. But the original is an absolute classic and an absolute beauty, and there's not that many left. And the other one would be that featured in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Is it the Ferrari California?
I tell you what, dude, like you both of your knowledge is pretty sound there. It's actually a 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO.
Oh, yeah.
So it was.
He's not a car guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, listen.
Don't like cars. It gives me every fact. Steals my thunder on every bit that I'm trying to.
I drive a Nissan Duke. I am not a car guy.
But no, it was
with red alloys. That they're dusty.
It was obviously we remember back in, born in 73, growing up sort of mid to late 70s, early 80s. I remember the sort of the Porsche, the Ferrari, the Lamborghinis and stuff. But it's sort of pre then. Yeah, it was a 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO. Do you know how much it sold for?
$2.5 million.
Oh no! You're talking. I bet it's nearly. I'm going to guess about 60 million.
Not quite. It's $48.4 million. I think it's about £44 million, but yeah, $48.4 million. And I think they said when it was sold, and obviously Sotheby's were doing the auction and stuff. They had, I can't remember his name now, and I should know that, and I apologise if I'm causing offence to anybody. And it was driven in by a 4 or 5 time sort of rally world champion, sort of Formula One world champion. So I think it was driven in. And yeah, so Sotheby's sold it, and $48.4 million to a private car collector. Like I say, it just, to me, that's like just outrageous. I mean, would you ever? I mean, I think I know the answer, but you'd never spend that money on a car, would you? Surely.
Never.
I mean, as much as if Burt Reynolds' car in Smokey the Bandit actually came up for auction and you could buy it, you're not going to pay that much for it, surely.
No, that one did actually not so long ago, and that went for, I mean, big money, but I think it was, a couple of $100,000. Sold by, I can't remember the name of the auction house, but it features a lot on Fast and Loud. Andy, you'll remember them.
That's the Barrett.
Barrett, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's
right.
They sold it not long back, but no, could never justify that. Gee whiz, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. So then, if that was the most expensive car sold at auction, what's the most expensive car effectively produced for public to buy, sort of thing? So what's the most expensive?
Well, I'm assuming it's the Bugatti, not the Veyron. Is it? It
is a Bugatti. Yeah.
What's the
petrol head?
but everybody's watched an episode of Top Gear or what have you. But no, why is it, Andy? You'll know. It's not the Veyron. They've updated.
It's not the Bugatti Veyron.
No. They've got a new model. It sounds similar to Veyron, but it isn't that.
The Bugatti Veyron, obviously, massively expensive, and the Bugatti, and I won't give you the name and I won't give you how much it is, but I don't know whether it's actually finished being made yet. I think they said they were going to make like one of them or 2 of them or something. And I think they said they started production like 18 months ago or 2 years ago. And actually there's been a private collector or whatever that said he's willing to buy it, pay for it, sort of thing. And it is a car that they are going to produce for the public. but yeah, so it is a Bugatti, and it's called La Voiture Noire, which obviously is it the black car or whatever. So, and actually, if you do Google it, it looks absolutely mint. How much was it going for? How much was it sold for?
I guess I know Ronaldo he's bought a Bugatti for around about 3.5 million. So I'm going to guess it's a little bit upwards of that, about 5. Higher than 5.
Yeah.
Higher than a 5, you say? A 7.
Keep going, dude. Keep going.
More than 7.
Keep going, dude.
Some people have got too much money. 10 million.
Keep going, dude.
12.
Keep going, dude.
15.
18.7 million.
That's oh dear.
I mean, you Google it and it looks mint, but not for 18.7 million. I've been wanting a country or an island for that, you know.
I'd want both.
I mean,
I'm surprised it's not the next Batman car when you look at it. Like.
Have you got it up there now, Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like, just Google it, Andy. It looks mint. Yeah, Bugatti La Voiture Noire it is.
I have not heard this at all.
I thought I had because I've been watching a lot of like Grand Tour and stuff like that, but now I'm looking at it like, I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
$18.7 million.
You know when you go and click on something on Google and it just changes? I would just put in Le. It changed to Bugatti Lego just as I clicked it. And I thought, not very impressive at all.
18% million worth of Bugatti Lego. But yeah, absolutely, Andy. You look at it, it's like La Voiture Noire, and when you read it, they're saying like literally, I don't remember how many they said they're going to make, but basically it's obviously a limited edition sort of thing, limited number. And actually number 2, which actually isn't that far behind, is the Pagani Zonda. So there's a Zonda at 17 million, just a snippet, $17 million sort of thing. And it's just ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, absolutely just like why? I sort of get it, but
anything over like 300 grand is just, I mean, that's a lot. Yeah, like a couple $100 is a house, but anything over that, it's silly. I mean, you're saying like 18 million, that's more than what you can win on the lottery in the UK a lot of the time, isn't it?
And you're thinking, oh gosh, you buy a house and you buy this and you buy that, and you say to yourself, you never have to work again. No, I'm just going to go spend 18 million on a car. How does that work?
It's probably dead small. It's got no radio in it.
That's it.
I mean, it does look at these, but
I bet that's not got a manual choke.
Manual sunroof. Do you remember they actually? Do you remember they actually did that? Oh, brilliant! But the thing is, you get these cars. It's like, yeah, great. So you can probably drive it on like 2 roads in the country. It's probably like by the time you put your foot down on the accelerator, you're probably doing the speed limit after about 5 seconds or something stupid. You know what I mean? It's just like, how does that work? Like, surely that's the type of car that you're going to buy and actually not drive. That's just one that you just put there in a massive, great trophy cabinet and just say, look at me, look at how much money I've got. Because you're never going to drive that car, surely. Oh yeah.
No, you wouldn't.
Look at me, look how big my penis is.
proper sort of little man syndrome. Look at me. So okay, so well go on.
I was just going to say, well, that's the thing about those cars. You know, in the UK, and obviously I know it's in a lot of countries as well. You watch Top Gear, and if you watch those old episodes, you got Jeremy Clarkson driving them. Now Jeremy Clarkson's 6'5", same height as myself, same height as Andy. And that's the thing about those cars. They never show him getting in and out of them because he's a guy with a paunch, much like me, same height, dicky knees. There's no graceful way to do it. If I had that kind of money, I couldn't spend it on that car because basically people are going to say, look at that guy crawling out of that.
He must have a tiny.
Yeah, he must, yeah.
It's where you got like tuck and roll to get out there, and you got like flop out.
He's not going to. He's big.
You can't even get your knee out because you've got to get like your top off out first, and then you just end up flobbing out the side, and then it's just like, I'll just crawl out. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah. So I'm not going to ask this. I'm just sort of conscious of time into the episode, but I was going to say like what. So I was going to look at sort of fastest cars and 0 to 60 cars, but I was amazed by this that there's a car that is effectively available and it's 316 miles an hour. Why would you buy that?
316?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
If you want to Google it, and it's the SSC Tuatara, 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 and it's like reported to be between 316. It did say it's whatever the phrase is, it's uncorroborated or whatever.
Well, the Veyron does just shy of the 300 mark as well, though, doesn't it? Anyway,
Yeah, well, I've got it.
268.
The Bugatti Veyron is 268, and then you've got the
rubbish.
The Hennessy Veyron GT at 270, the Koenigsegg Agera at 2. Oh, by the way, if you've seen the Top Gear episode, and Richard Hammond drives one of the Koenigsegg's, which is it's actually I think it's a Koenigsegg, and then there's a Rimac. It's like an electric car. I think he drives a Rimac, and basically you've got the three of them, and they sort of drop the flag, and Hammond just literally like bombs down this airstrip, and I can't remember what car Clarkson's in, and I'll say he's in a Ferrari or whatever, and he's flooring it, and all you can see in the distance out of his windscreen is Hammond, who's just in this this Rimac car, and literally Clarkson's like, oh my god, have you seen Hammond? And he's I won't say miles ahead obviously, but he's like yards ahead, and Hammond, it cuts to him inside, and he's trying to tell you how fast he's going, and you can see the genuine excitement in his face, and he's like 190, 200, I can't even talk fast enough, and literally you can see the speed down go whoop, like this, and it's basically like an electric car. If you ever see it, it's just you just need to watch it, because literally Hammond's face is like a kid at Christmas. He's literally like so, and actually that's the car that he sort of nearly died in for the second time after the one that he did, the drag race car.
I was going to say, he's the worst person to have a fast car with.
Well, what happened was so they did this drag race, and it was this, I can't remember the name of the company, but it's like a Rimac electric car basically, and they did this ascent, this mountain ascent, and people driving like Ferraris and Lambos and all sorts of stuff. And he drove this car, and he basically tried to take this corner and just shot off this corner, and it bursts into flames and explodes, and he gets thrown out and stuff, and basically nearly dies again, sort of thing. But it's pretty cool when you watch the actual drag race. It is pretty cool. But yeah, 316 allegedly, 316 miles an hour. That's like Formula One speed. Isn't it?
Yeah,
360.
that's crazy. It's probably faster. It's probably faster.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. So, right, we're going to round it off, and I'm going to ask for your thoughts on this, because I'm sort of a bit conscious. I'm not sure how long we've been going. We've talked about cars a lot, and we've talked about different types of cars and likes and best cars and this and that. Where would your ideal road trip be? What car would you use? Who would your passengers be?
Oh, now
I'll give you a minute to think about that, because the passengers, I know I've done this before and said who would be your three dinner guests and this, that, and the other and stuff. But so I'm talking about ideal road trip. It could be a day, it could be a week, it could be wherever. But where would you go? What type of car would you have? And if you can sort of talk about who you might want in the car with you. And I've put three passengers, because if you're driving, you've got passenger and two in the back sort of thing. So maybe four in the car, obviously not during these COVID times. I'll start you off not for the passengers, because I haven't fully decided on mine yet. I think I'd do the Pacific Coast drive in America. So I think I'd do the Utah to San Fran, sort of north to south, sort of Pacific Coast. And I thought about Route 66, and obviously starting at Chicago, I'm a massive Chicago Bears fan, obviously, and I thought about Route 66, but I actually think I'd rather do the Pacific Coast drive. And I think I'd probably do a 1970s Dodge, just a proper American muscle car, just cruising, not like going fast, just put some tunes on. I think I'd have to have a bit of a car nut in there. So whether it be Clarkson, whether it be Hammond, whether it be May, I think I'd have one of the Top Gear guys in there with me. But I don't know who else I'd have in with me. That's the thing. So I'm going to pass on the passengers. I'm going to go to Andy first. So where would it be? What drive would it be? Could be anywhere in the world. Could be any car. What would it be? Go on, guys. Off you go.
I was thinking of Central Europe, like the Swiss Alps and stuff like that. But now he says Route 66 and stuff. I think a drive across America would be good just because of the different, like, not biomes. So, it's like you're going from the wet and hot Florida through wherever it goes to Texas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That'll be a good drive. But the car, I'd probably go with like probably a Dodge Charger or a Dodge Challenger.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Passengers, though, I don't know. I was just thinking then of Chris Cornell, which is a Soundgarden singer and stuff.
Yeah, because I know you mentioned last time, obviously, when I talked about like your ideal sort of dinner guests and stuff, you mentioned that there was a sort of couple of sort of music band guys. Would they be in there with you sort of thing? Would they, or would you have the same people?
You just got me thinking then of Chris Cornell sang with Rage Against the Machine in a band called Audio Slave, and one of their songs is called "Show Me How to Live," and in that they're driving a Dodge Challenger. It's like a 70s one, I think it is.
Right.
It's based on a film as well. The video you have to watch it. I can't remember what.
Is that Vanishing Point?
Yes, the white one.
Yeah. Well, basically, it's a great film all the way through. Great driving movie. Then at the end, for no reason, he just smashes his car into a bulldozer.
Yeah. That's the music video as well.
Thanks for that.
But, I was just thinking, like someone like an artist as big as Chris Cornell or someone like that, or I don't know. Yeah. It'd be quite chilled out. Personally, I like driving on my own. Just put some like tunes on. I'm a bit of a loner, but
to be fair, I can't think of any other two people I'd much rather spend a driving trip across America with than you two guys. So, like, obviously TBR on the road, and genuinely, I think we would have a pretty cool.
In a few years, we should do hire like an RV and just drive around for a while.
Yes.
The thing
is,
Roswell. Like Breaking Bad.
But it is weird because, like, obviously I've known Ad for years and stuff, and obviously known you for a few years now, Andy, because sort of NFL and obviously mates with Ad and stuff. But we have got like sort of different tastes, different likes, different interests and stuff. So I actually genuinely think if you chucked us in a car and said, right, you're going to drive across America for 2 weeks or whatever, 3 weeks, or however, look, I genuinely think like we'd have an absolute hoot. I genuinely think we'd have a proper good but I was trying to think of guests, and you guys sport. I would have to have somebody from Top Gear or whatever the Grand Tour. So with the original Top Gear, as much as I like Flintoff and stuff, but the original Top Gear guys, I'd have to have one of them in there.
It'd only be Jeremy for me.
I'd quite like Jeremy to be in there because I just think he could piss a few people off, and it might be quite funny just to see what, do you know what I mean? So I think he might get in there. There'd probably have to be a sportsman in there at some point, and I don't know whether I'd have the same as my music, like my sort of three at the table. Was it Freddie Mercury and Tiger Woods and stuff? What about yourself? What would you do?
Well, to be honest, you stole my thunder a little bit there, guys. That was my opportunity to win some Credo back and say I was going to pick you two guys as my co-travelers on the route, because actually I think that would be a great way to do it. Probably never going to happen realistically, but TBR on the road. The road I pick, and it's been mentioned already, would have to be Route 66, starting in Chicago, Illinois, all the way through. Obviously takes you through Tulsa and Oklahoma City there in Oklahoma. So I'd love to do that and then end up on the west coast there in California. So for me, that would be the route. Car, probably go with something like the Dodge Monaco that they used in Blues Brothers. You know, even in police car colours. Maybe not with the giant megaphone taped to the roof, but yeah, just something, an old battered car like that, or an old Galaxy 500, something like that. And do you know, I'll tell you one person I'd love to do that journey with, and it would be quite interesting. Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, not Morrissey. No, not Morrissey.
No, dude, I'm not even being funny. If Morrissey's in the car, I'm not getting in, so that's fine.
Yeah, Morrissey.
It'd be a meat-free trip.
Oh yeah, good point.
It would.
Good point. Now Jeff Goldblum, he's an interesting guy. from Pittsburgh, PA as well. So, I'm presuming he's a Steelers fan. Yeah, definitely. I think the three of us and Jeff Goldblum, that would be an interesting trip, wouldn't it?
It's weird because you see, Jeff got obviously when we did the episode where I asked about sort of the ideal dinner guests, and I think we did the food one, didn't we, which was like who would be a perfect dinner guest. And obviously, Vron mentioned that one of her guests would be Stephen Fry, and I suppose he's a bit like a Marmite character. I can imagine him being quite.
Well, he's done that journey. He literally visited all 50 states, didn't he? Driving around in his TX14, his black cab.
I quite like Stephen Fry, and I know some people find him a bit overbearing and this, that, and the other. And whether or not you could spend, let's say, 2 weeks in a car with him effectively, I don't know. And would it be one of those that, like, for the first sort of 2 or 3 nights or 2 or 3 days, he'd be brilliant, and then he'd be a bit like, ugh. But I think I can. I think he'd be quite. I think he'd be quite good. Good 100%. Fun to have him with it. Just his knowledge base and some. I mean, Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, fantastic. But I wouldn't put him in a car. But somebody like Attenborough, somebody that just seeing the world, and you wouldn't put him in a road trip with you. But
so you wouldn't make him walk. He's in his 80s.
Yeah, just chuck him in a hot air balloon. See you there, or something that's like carbon neutral or something. I don't know how it works, but somebody like somebody that's just
another name in there. It's Keanu Reeves.
Oh yeah,
I feel like him, but
he's lived a life, hasn't he?
Yeah,
such a lad.
Yes. Somebody that's a bit of a lad, in their day, bit of a lad, and maybe sort of grown up a little bit. But he's got that little bit of sort of devil in him still, you know what I mean? Just likes to sort of be with the lads and that sort of stuff. That'd be decent. But I mean, it's hard to categorise in it as to who you'd have and who you wouldn't have. But yeah, you two guys would be pretty high up there. That'd be decent. Not that it's ever going to happen and stuff. And whether we get a road trip down to London or up to Edinburgh or whatever, that might be good fun. But
do you have to share rooms as well? Oh.
Listen, if Gaz is booking, he'll have a room to himself. For some unknown reason, he'll put you and me in the same room.
Dude,
there's only a single bed for both of you.
Again,
there's a single bed. There's a single bed. There's a chair. Deal with it. I was just thinking of cost, dude. That's all. I was just thinking of cost. You know what I mean? It's like I had TBR on a budget. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, not when he booked himself the penthouse though.
But honestly, no, brilliant. But yeah, I mean, it would be great to do. I still really love the idea of sort of Europe. I say Europe, but sort of Bruges, Brussels, sort of that. Just
has to happen.
I had that on the cards for this year in my van. We were going to go South Belgium and down to like Luxembourg and stuff like that. But obviously COVID ruined that. So I'm so gutted because I was just going to come back dump all my clothes and just come back with beer. Amy can squeeze in on the roof.
Just imagine getting to customs and Andy's just got no clothes on. Just anything to declare? Well,
it's very cold and I got loads of beer.
Brilliant. Well, I'm not sure what time it is. I'm not quite sure how long the episode is, but I've had a bit of a hoot. I've enjoyed this episode. Actually, a bit of a laugh. Again, a bit lighthearted. And I think it's just left for me to say sort of thanks to the guys again. Thanks to Dave, obviously from Double Trouble again, who was good enough to come on at the start, and obviously the sort of whiskey tasting with Adam and Andy. Guys, if you want to say your goodbyes. Andy, do you want to go first?
Yeah, it's a good episode. It's probably like I keep saying, we can add it onto a list for more stuff, another episode, and lots of stuff. Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Adam.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely what Andy says there. I don't think this will be the last one we do about cars. It turns out it is something we're all interested in, not something I don't think we've ever had a conversation about either in the past, which is interesting. But yeah, absolutely massive thanks to Dave, because that whiskey, wow, that was way, way better than I was expecting. I was expecting something good, but that was a really decent whiskey. So the only thing I'm going to say as I leave you is your big-headed friend's just lost himself a ride.
And at some point, we'll tell the story about where that quote comes from. Today might not be today, and this podcast might not be the right time and the right place, but at some point I will tell the story about where that quote comes from. Yeah, funny story, but that's for another time. Guys, listen, I've loved being in the driver's seat, excuse the pun, again for this episode. Love just picking your brains. As I said, just echo what Adam said. Thanks to Dave. Thanks to Double Trouble. Love to see where they're going in the future. And look forward to episode 44. And with that, I will wish you all farewell and speak to you soon. Cheers, guys.